everybody here. Well, I thought I'd show up and welcome you to lesson 5. And what you'll need for lesson 5 is your financial spreadsheet that you worked on in lesson 4. So you got that done. There it is right there, a screenshot of it. And we're going to use this to answer some of our first questions. Lesson 5 is on credit card practices, payday loans, and the order of operations. All right, so you have the financial spreadsheet. This is the one flat screen TVs. So here's our scenario. We go buy a new laptop for us to do homework on as we sit on our new couch and stream Netflix onto our new flat screen TV. I hope you have a rich uncle because you're spending a lot of money here. But laptop probably the most important thing. So it cost $19.75. Nice Buy, where we purchased our computer from, has a deal going. They charge an APR, which is an annual percentage rate of 17.25% compounded at the end of each month. But they won't make you make any payments for 24 months. How much do you owe at the end of 24 months if you make no payments? So that's our first scenario. I'm going to pull up an Excel file here and we'll get to work on it. So here is your flat screen TV, and we're changing this to buying a computer or laptop. So I might actually go ahead and change this just to buying a laptop. Now what's nice about Excel, of course, is that I only have to work with this information here because it's all linked and attached over here. And if you still are having trouble with that, I would go back and watch Julie's video lesson 4 because she does a good job with that. So I have to pause it sometimes. Okay, so our new principal, which is the amount of money that we owe in the beginning, is $19.75. And that made all the change right over here. But our APR is not, our annual percentage rate is not 12%. It is 17.25%. Oh, now it says 17.3. Why is that? It rounded it. Did it round it? The answer is no. It did not round it. Excel keeps dozens of digits beyond the whole number. You just don't see them. You don't really round with Excel. What you do is just format it differently. And I'll give you an example of that. I'm going to move that decimal. Okay. It's 17.25. You want to leave it that way or that way, but it doesn't make any difference in terms of the calculations. So I'll format it with 2 decimals. Unless you want to format it with 1 decimal. Doesn't matter. Okay, so it's 17.3%. Now I don't have to change this because it's still monthly and there are the periods. So I'm going to grab 2 cells. I could grab this cell, but it won't know what to do with 12 to make it 13. It needs to see some kind of pattern over here. So I'm going to grab these 2 cells. I'm going to drag it down to 24 months. There's 20. There is 24 months. And so being that I didn't make any payments on this, the total amount I owe is $27.81.84 for a laptop that initially cost $19.75. And the difference between these two numbers is, what is it? Let's do it this way. Equals that amount minus that amount. And it's $806.84. What is that? That, my friends, is the interest that you accrued over the life of the 24 months that you were making no payments. You're in a lot of debt. Couches, laptops, flat screen TVs. All right, let's go to the next problem. Okay, let's take a look at B and C here. Here's B right here and C right here. Let's read these and get familiar. What about if we decided to make payments of $75 per month every month? How much would we owe at the end of 24 months? Okay, and this is similar. C. What about if we decided to make payments of $50 per month every month? How many months would it take for us to finish up paying off the computer? And then what would the total cost be for the laptop if we made payments of $50 a month every month? So those are two slightly different questions, but we'll take a look at what we just did here with our computer, and we use this file, and we don't have we need now a payment. We need a payment column because we're going to have both $75 payments and $50 payments to answer these questions. So let's go to the credit card file that we built and use that one. Okay, so here is the credit card couch file that you built in lesson 4, and notice that it has a column D for payments. And being that we're going to be making both $75 and $50 payments, this is the file we're going to use. So we now have our live credit card couch purchase file down here. And we want to modify this for the computer. So I'm just working in this column because everything's linked to this column. So I'm just going to change the principal to 1975. And I'm going to change the APR to 17.25. And the last thing, of course, it's still monthly, 12 payments. The last thing, I'm going to change my monthly payment to $75. Okay, so now I can pull over this question. Let me pull it over. And it says, what about if we decided to make 75? How much would we owe at the end of 24 months? So let's go down to, oh, you got to go farther. So I'm going to highlight these two and use the fill tab and go down a ways, and we can now see 24 months, you would owe $650.40. So we can put that in. And a dollar sign would be nice. So the next question is, what if we decided to make $50 a month payment each month? How many months would it take us to pay off the computer? So I'm going to move this over, maybe. And the only thing I got to do is change this to $50. Now I'm going to see how many months it took it to pay off. A balance means that you owe them. Well, it's going to be more than 26 months. Highlight those two, use the fill bar. Oh boy, that's a long time. Finally I paid it off. And I paid it off. Some students think you paid it off on the 58th month, but that's not when you paid it off. You still owed money. You paid it off on the 59th month. You made a payment of $50 on the 59th month, and that shows you that they owe you $11.12. You can always overpay your credit card, and that's what they finally owe you. So you paid it off on the 59th month. So I'll drag that over here again. Maybe. And that, how many months to finish paying it off? And it would be 59 months. Now our final question. What would the total cost of the laptop be if we made payments of $50 a month every month? Okay. Let's move that over. What is going to be the total cost of the laptop? I want you to think about that. I'm going to hit pause. You can think about how I'm going to figure this out. Okay, so I'm going to now just figure out how much I paid in total for this $1,975 laptop. I paid more than $1,975. What did I pay besides the principal? I'm letting you think. Yes, I paid the interest. So what I'm going to do is just make a little Excel formula equals the amount that I paid for it plus the sum of all my interest. And I'm going to run that all the way down until I stop paying interest. And still owe money. Still owe money. And right there, I even paid that 55-cent interest on the $38. So that's all the interest that I paid. I close the parentheses and hit enter. So I paid a total of $29.38.88 for that computer. That was $19.75. That's a lot of interest. $1,000 of interest almost. All right, here's another way of doing it. Use a formula again. It's going to equal all the money that I paid. Whoops. I might want to put equals the sum of all the money that I paid. And I keep going down and down and down. And I went too far. And should I go and include that payment or not? Well, I'm going to include it, but then I'm going to realize that I paid $11.12 over what I owed. And that's a negative number, so we're going to be careful with that. But I made all those payments, but I paid a little bit too much. So now what I could do is subtract the overpayment. But subtracting the overpayment is a double negative. I'm not so sure Excel's going to like that. So really I'm going to add the overpayment because the overpayment's a negative number. Subtracting a negative number is adding. And I get the same thing. So the total amount paid, which you can now put in your answer, in your worksheet, in your workbook, is right here, 2938.88. And you might want to put dollars there. Question 2. We are just getting our first credit card, so we have a great, which I circled, introductory APR, annual percentage rate, annual of 24.5%, and we're required to make monthly payments. We want to buy a hamburger at McDonald's, a hamburger meal at McDonald's for $7. We don't make any other purchases on this card, but we do make monthly payments of $2. What is the balance at the end of 3 months? So let's switch over to Excel. Well, the only thing we're going to have to deal with from our other Excel file on the laptop is to change the principal, which was $7 for the meal, change the annual percentage rate, which was 24.5, and change our monthly payments, which is now $2. And we have some answers. What's the balance at the end of 3 months? $1.31. So you put that in there, $1.31 at the end of 3 months. How long does it take us to pay off the hamburger meal? Well, let's look here. It's not paid off after the 3rd month, but it is paid off after the 4th month. So the answer to that is going to be 4 months. So that's going to go here, 4 months. How much does the hamburger meal cost us in total? And how much of this total cost is interest? I think we can handle those two at once. Switch back to Excel. Our total cost is going to be, well, we can do it 2 ways, right? Let's do it this way. I made payments of $2 for 4 months, and it was paid off with 66 cents extra. So let's do that with pen and pencil. $2 for 4 months, it's $8. But I paid 66 cents too much. So by subtracting that, we're going to get $7.34, I believe, if I did my math correctly. My total interest will be, well, you paid $7 for the meal, and you pay that in total, so it's going to be 34 cents in interest. How does the hamburger meal taste once you have finally paid it off? Well, I have no idea. I can't remember. It took me 4 months to pay it off. I don't even know how it tastes. I forget. I forget how it tastes. How do you feel about your hamburger purchase? Well, I don't pay cash or pay it off at the end of the month. Don't get interest. So here's our new scenario. now that we paid off McDonald's and we still have our great APR of 24.5, and we'll be required to make monthly payments when we go use the credit card again. Unless you pay it off at the end of when your bill comes. Pay the whole thing off, you won't get credit interest. Now suppose you want to buy something like a cruise vacation. You put $14.50 on your credit card. Our vacation's coming up very soon, August 10th. We don't make any other purchases on this card, but we do make monthly payments of $50 at the end of the month when our payments are due. How many months does it take to pay off the cruise? Okay, so we'll go back to our Excel file. And we just, of course, need to change over here. We need to change the principal to $1,450. And we're going to need to change the monthly payment. Of course, they're monthly, so we don't have to change that. The monthly payment to $50. Now we're going to find out how long does it take us to pay this thing off? How many months? Oh, gee. Okay. So on the 44th month, we didn't pay it off, but on the 45th month, we paid it off. So it took 45 months. Okay, so now you paid off your McDonald's meal, and you still have that great 24.5% APR. And you're required to make monthly payments when you go and use the card again. That's how it always works with credit cards. You got to make monthly payments. Now you want to buy something like a cruise vacation, $1,450. Put it on your credit card. Vacation's coming up real soon. How exciting it is. Although I wouldn't go on a cruise now, but in normal times. We don't make any other purchases on this card. But we do make monthly payments of $50 at the end of the month when the payments are due. Each month, $50. How many months does it take to pay off our cruise? Okay, well, let's go to our Excel file. This is nice because we only have to make a couple changes. What are they? Think about them, right? Well, the APR is the same. That means the periodic is the same because it's still monthly. But our principal is different. Our principal is now $14.50. And our monthly payments are $50. Now let's see how long it took to pay off our cruise. Well, it's past 10 months, as you can see. Running all the way down to there. And it's still past that, and there it is right here. Month 44 does not pay it off. You still owe money. Month 45 pays it off. So it takes 45 months to pay this off. So the answer to that, how many months does it take to pay it off? 45 months. Assuming your first payment is due on August 31st, what month and year do you pay off your cruise? So when is that cruise going to be fully paid off? Well, it's going to be fully paid off how many months after this? 45. That's how long it takes to pay it off. So I don't want to count 1 month at a time. So what I'm going to do is take 45 and divide it by 12. And I get 3, which is 3 what? That is 3 what? You said years, that's good. And 3 times 12 is 36. and I have a remainder of 9. 9 what? 9 months. All right, so it's going to take 3 years and 9 months. Three years and 9 months to pay it off. Well, I can get 3 years from here, so 3 years from August 31st is August 2023. That's the 3 years. Now I could add 9 months. I don't know, I'll do it one at a time. Or how about just adding a year? That's 12 months. And now subtract 3 months, because it's 12 months in a year. And that would be July, June, May of 2024. May of 2024. Well, that took a while. How much did our cruise cost us in total? Well, let's analyze it from what we have here. We have $50 a month payments for 45 months. So we can go 50 times 45, right? And that gives us, put it in your calculator, I put it in, got 2250. But on the last month, I paid too much. So let's go back to Excel and subtract that last month. Take a look at it. Here's that last month. I have a $31.56 credit. So I'm going to subtract that because that's an overpayment. I didn't pay that. $31.56. Now that I can put in my calculator. And I'm going to use this fancy thing I have here. How about that thing? I haven't used it yet. So I don't know if you can see it all. And you can probably see it better now. So I have 2250 minus 3156. And I'm going to get 2218.44. Throwing up in that fancy calculator, but this comes out to 2218.44. That's the total amount that I paid on the trip. Now the original cost was $14.50. What's the difference between $14.50 and $22.18? It went to one place. It didn't go to charity, and it didn't go to McDonald's. It went to interest. When you were making payments, it went one of two places, either the principal or interest. And so if I subtract these two, which I'm going to do, that's how much interest I paid. And I put that on my calculator, and I get $768.44. So there's the total cost minus what the actual trip cost by itself, and the difference there is interest. A lot of interest, almost half again, almost half as much as, more than half of what the trip cost. How do you feel about your cruise purchase? I paid too much in interest. And I don't remember the cruise. I forget. It's been so long ago. By May 2024, I don't even remember I took it probably, even though I take Prevagen. Heck, I might not even be alive by then. So it's a long time to pay off. What would have been a scenario that would have been better? How about making bigger payments? Here, let me move that up. The last question, come up with a scenario that might be better financial decision for the cruise. Well, you can save up, but if you needed to go, how about doing this? Making $250 a month payments, or something like that, $200 a month, whatever. Let me just, all I have to do here then is change this to 200 or 250. If I did $250 a month payments, I would pay it off right there in 7 months. Paid in 7 months. And I could write that there, make $250 a month payments, it would be paid off in 7 months. That would be a better plan. You're still gonna pay some interest, but certainly a lot less. Well, isn't that lovely? But now we gotta figure out how to pay for it. Okay, so we're on our hot tub. Given is a below screenshot. I'm gonna show you the screenshot. You have it at the bottom of your paper. With a few rows missing for the purchase of a hot tub and a credit card. Determine the following. What did this hot tub cost us originally? How much is this person paying per month towards the balance? And how many months did it take to pay off? I'm going to answer those three questions by looking at the screenshot. Okay, this is the screenshot at the bottom of your page, asking these three questions. What did this hot tub cost us originally? Well, you can't see the principal, can you? So it's going to be, yes, the balance at the beginning of the first month, $6,000. Second question, B, how much is this person paying per month towards the balance? Well, that's the payment. There it is right there, $330. And C, how many months did it take to pay off? This is the split screenshot. So you should go down to there and see that it took 23 months to pay it off. So now we want to do how much did this person spend overall on the hot tub? Now I want you to think about that with just the information that we have so far. We'll need one more piece. I'm pausing, I'm stopping, I'm delaying for you to tell me. Well, if you guess this, 23 times $330, you would be correct, except we're going to have to subtract something. We get $75.90, but we have to subtract because the 23rd payment was an overpayment of a certain amount of money. So I'll go back and take a look at that. And there's the overpayment of $183.34 in the 23rd month. So we're going to have to subtract that. So when you put that in your calculator, hopefully you got something like that. 7406.66 is the total amount paid, which includes all my payments, and then I subtracted my overage. Now, how much was spent on interest? I'm going to put it on pause. You think about that. Interest. Of course, you're the one that has to put it on pause, not me. I can't really pause it. But there what it did. The total amount paid minus the price of the hot tub, and that there is the interest. And I'll just write that down. That is the interest paid. What percent of the total amount paid was paid towards interest? So this is the part of interest, and that's the whole. So this is no different than getting 16 correct on a quiz with 25 total questions. You're just going to change this ratio into a percentage. And so I'll write it down here. You might want to pause and see what you can get. Well, there's what I got. Total interest over total payments. I divided it, and then I multiplied it by 100. I multiplied, actually, this is 0.1899 over 1. So I multiplied both the numerator and the denominator by 100. But I just put the 100 from up here. So as a percentage, round it to 19%. What is the periodic rate? You only need to look at the first month. Well, you can look at any month, which will just, obviously you can look at every month because each month you're paying the same periodic rate. It's just that you have a different balance each month. So let's look at that. So here's our hot tub file, and we're trying to figure out the periodic rate. So basically, the periodic rate is going to be the interest divided by the balance. And I'll put that down on our sheet there, but I'll do it with Excel. So it's really equal to the interest divided by the balance. And I get that, and I just can make it into a percentage by hitting the percentage and give me a couple of seal accurate. 1.875%. That's the periodic rate. Now, what if and this is the next question, but what if I took this interest, which is less than this interest, and I divided it by this balance, which is less than this balance? What do you think I'm going to get? Well, if you guessed, I would get the same thing. You would be correct. And what I'm going to do here is do more of them, right? I can pull that down now. What do you think all those are going to be? Well, it's going to be the same thing. The periodic rate is the same for every month. It doesn't matter if I divide this or if I divide this. So I put up some more answers here. I took the first month's interest, divided it by the balance the first month, which is the same as the principal, and I got 1.875%. And when I did them all, anything that you do, all of the interest for any month divided by whatever the balance is that month is going to be the same. And that's the periodic rate. Each month you pay less interest, but the interest rate is the same. You pay less interest because you have a smaller balance. So it all works out to be exactly the same. What is the APR? Well, it's not 1.875%. That's 1/12 of the APR because that's 1 month's interest. So what am I going to do to that? I'm going to multiply it by 12. And now I'm going to put it in my calculator. And you should get 22.5%. That is the APR. So these last ones here, I can pull the sheet up and we'll do those. So these are our last 3 questions in the hot tub. What formula would go into cell E4, which is right here? E4. What's the formula in E4? Well, it's going to be, think about it. You owe $6,000. And now, at the end of the month, you owe another $112.50 in interest. So I'm going to add this to this, but then I'm going to subtract my payment. Obviously, you're making a payment, you're going to subtract it from what you owe. So it's going to be B4 equals B4 plus C4 minus D4. I hope that makes sense. What formula would go into cell B5, which was right here? B5. Well, what you have to understand is this is the month ends at midnight at 12:01 of the next month after the, say it's the 31st of March at 11:59 p.m. That's what you owe. Soon as the clock strikes 12 o'clock on April the 1st, that's what you owe. So what goes in here is this balance here. So that would just equal E4. What formula using cell reference would go into cell C4? Let's go to C4. Right there. So that you could fill it down. In other words, you don't want to you want to do it once and then use the black cross in the bottom right hand corner and fill it down. And the answer is going to be, you're going to take $6,000, which is B4, and multiply it by the interest rate, the periodic interest rate, which it's not going to be G6, it's right here, right? So it's going to be H6, like that. Now I made a mistake. H6, I did it on purpose. Well, I usually don't, but this time I did. H6, if I pull it down, it's going to become H7. I don't want it to become H7. I want it to stay H6. So what do? Put dollar signs before the H and before the 6. So this is on payday loans, and I'd really suggest you watch this video. It's very insightful. Payday loans are one of the biggest rip-offs there are. Makes the credit card companies look like saints when you see what the interest rate is on this. But let's go through it. So Jennifer needs a loan of $375 to pay her rent. She has to make a one-time fee of $55, and it's due in 2 weeks. So this is not monthly. That's the amount of interest she's paying, which is $55, but she's paying it weekly. Now, a periodic rate is always, with money, it's always a percentage. And a rate means a comparison of two things, right? So in this case, it's interest over the balance, what you owe. And interest is always dollars. Interest rate is a percentage, okay? You want a rate. So it's going to be 55 divided by 375. Now you can do this with a proportion, and there's your percentage rate, cross multiply and divide. But the way I normally do it is just divide this by this, and I get 14.67% rounded to the nearest hundredth. So she's paying 14.67% after 2 weeks. So here it says calculate the APR. Well, the way I would do it was I would take the 14.67%. Now, if that was a monthly fee, I would multiply it by 12 to get the annual. If that was a weekly fee, I'd multiply it by 52 to get the annual. If it was a quarterly fee, quarterly percentage, I'd multiply it by 4 to get the APR. But this is bi-weekly. How many bi-weekly periods are there in 1 year? The answer is 26. 52 weeks, bi-weekly would be half of that. And I'm going to multiply that. And I get 381.42%. And you thought the credit card at 26% was bad. Now sometimes some people, they memorize these formulas. like the APR over 12 will give you the monthly periodic rate, right? Well, this one would be, and I'll move it up a little bit, the APR over 26 gives you, 14.67% is the bi-weekly rate, right? So this is using the formula this way, it's the same thing because this is over 1. Multiply both sides by 26 and you get the APR as this times this, which is 381.42%. So finally here we're going to look at the order of operations, which you might recall is please excuse my dumb R sister, or something like that. Parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide. These are the same level, so you can do either one first. Add and subtract, same level, do either one first. The main point here is you're going to be working a lot with Excel and with computer programs. Mathematically, this is how it looks, but you got to type it in. You got to put it into the kind of formula. So we're just going to make that translation. And this is the big one. The big one is that this is not the same as this or this, all right? That is a fraction bar. It's a grouping symbol. It means something different. We operates differently than this or this. And this sort of what you do here when you have a fraction bar is you do everything in the numerator first, and then you do everything in the denominator second, and finally and lastly you divide, okay? So which one of these two is the correct answer? So hopefully you said this is. Because I guarantee you put this is 6 divided by 8. Which is 3/4, which is 0.75. Now watch this. Got that? Can you see that pretty well? I'm going to write it the way it's right there, right? I'm going to write it 6 divided by 1 plus 7. 6 divided by 1 plus 7. And I got 13. Now, how did that happen? Well, what it did is it divided by 1 first because division is higher up in the food chain than addition or subtraction. So it divided first. 6 divided by 1 is 6, then it added 7. That's not correct from here. All right, let's look at this one. Now, I'm just looking at making sure, this is the fraction bar. I'm going to make sure that the numerator is in parentheses and the denominator is in parentheses. There it is. This one here, a lot of times Excel and other programs will not handle this unless you put the exponent in parentheses. It's just a reminder. So that's this one here. I'll move this up to the last one. I am certainly not going to sit here and do this. I'd be here forever. So what I'm looking for is the numerator in parentheses, which it's not, so that eliminates that one. And then I'm looking for the numerators in parentheses, the denominators in parentheses, everything's in parentheses except for negative 12 times 3. And there it is in parentheses there, so that would be the correct one.